Welcome back to In the Zone, presented by Sports Zone. I'm joined by Matt Miller on my left, Nick Rodano on my right. I'm Aaron Jolly. We're back with another podcast. We're kind of in like a little gray area right now. Not many sports going on. We just had a bunch of sports finish out. Volleyball was our last one. They lost in the state championship, unfortunately. But girls soccer's done. Boys soccer. What else? Am I missing?
Football, field hockey.
Yeah. So football had a pretty good year this year.
I have to agree with that. Considering looking back on their past seasons, definitely big step in the right direction.
And they definitely had a little hiccup. They did lose one of their coaches, St. Genis, halfway through the year.
That was a big loss for them.
He will be missed.
Yes, he will.
Their offense did take a little bit of a hit, I think we could say. They definitely bounced back. Yeah, they bounced back, and they did make the first round of the playoffs this year. Unfortunately, they lost to their rival Summit. But I think, overall, they got to wrap that up as a success, no?
Very, very much so, I think. They had a winning record for majority of the year, I feel. It was much better than usual.
All right, and then I think boys soccer, they won their first playoff game, or state tournament game, I should say, and then unfortunately lost their second. But they also had a pretty good year this year. I know Gabe, their goalie, had a great year. I forget the number.
What class is Gabe?
He's a senior this year. Yeah. So he's going to be missed. We're going to have someone step up next year.
Yep.
And then what else? Girls soccer. I watched a few games. I photographed a few games. They had a really strong. It was like 6 or 7-0 or 6 or 7-1 win in their first state tournament game. And they won their senior night this year at Snyder under the lights, which was cool. And then I believe they lost their second one. They might have gotten to their third game.
Was it to Carteret?
I could not remember, to be honest with you. I should have had it in front of me.
Darn.
Yeah. So then moving on, we had field hockey. I know you watched a little bit of field hockey this year.
Not really.
They won they
made it far in the state tournament.
And they won the sectional title
In the conference.
In the conference. So they had a great year this year too. I think their goalie, unfortunately, is a senior. They have
don't they have Emma Caparelli?
She's going to be moving up, but I don't know if she was the starter.
I thought she was the starter.
Oh, was she? I thought
so, yeah.
Ava. Oh, okay. So then we have Emma Caparelli starting for next year, who did just commit to a university, which is cool. What else? We had Abby. Is it Abby Kim, who's going to be not Abby Kim? She's volleyball.
Megan Kim.
Megan Kim, the star field hockey player who's going to be graduating this year. So she will be missed. I think there's in total 6 seniors on the team who we're going to be. GL's obviously going to miss next year. And then their coach, Coach Wells, actually played in the Berkeley Heights Education Foundation basketball charity game, which was kind of cool. She was on the blue team, the winning team for that, which was cool.
What was the score of that game?
I think it was no, it wasn't. It was 30-20 after 4 quarters.
It started off a little slow.
Yeah, to say the least. I think it was 0-0 after the first quarter, but that's neither here nor there.
What's the points per quarter on that?
Points per quarter for.
I think they averaged about 5 or 6. I mean, the red team, you could just say average 4 or 5 points because
Blue team picked it up a lot in the fourth quarter.
Oh, blue team had that.
Blue team had it the whole game.
They had a good stretch of scoring.
Well, they had size too. They had Mike Roof from the middle school. They had
Guyton.
They had Guyton, who couldn't make a layup, but he did. He did get a lot of rebounds. And his kids were there to cheer him on, which was cool. They had that one police officer who was absolutely nuts. I mean, if he played the whole game, it would have been 70-0. Making shots from absolutely anywhere he wanted. And then they got, the rest of their team involved, which was kind of cool. But moving back to we finished with field hockey. Now we have volleyball. Volleyball had a great year this year. They did have a good number of seniors this year, too. I know Maddie Murphy's on there. You had Gabby Henriquez is on there, amongst others. So really solid players. Paulina's on there.
Avery Saturnia.
Saturnia. Haley Motts.
Yep. Big losses.
Yeah, so they're definitely gonna lose some size up front, and but I think they should be okay next year. I know they have some size up and coming, but they are definitely losing some star players. But then looking at who's not a senior, Eva Sodasani I think she made the all-conference second team this year for volleyball. Abby Kim was up there also. They had a bunch of honorable mentions for the all-conference teams and all-county teams this year.
Yep.
And yeah, they had a really strong year. I mean, just a few games I was able to watch them play, they were really, really solid. Yeah, so like we said, Eva Sotasani had a good year. Abby Kim had a great year. So yeah, they're going to lose a bunch of seniors. So what do we have coming up? We've got, I know basketball tryouts for both girls and boys started yesterday. Coach Eckert was definitely very happy about that.
Wrestling.
I think
Wrestling,
big focus on the wrestling
yesterday.
and even the hockey team. I feel like, too, they're coming off 2 back-to-back
Outstanding
state
years.
championships.
Well, did wrestling win last year? I thought they lost.
Wrestling did not win.
But they played.
They made it to the state finals, but they did not win in state finals.
Yeah,
That's
and
big. They did lose Brandon Rayak, though.
They did.
Which is huge for them.
They did, and they also are losing they lost their head coach. Rick Ortega is coaching for ALJ, their rival.
Wow.
Because his kids go there. So yeah, Coach Ortega, one of the best coaches in the state. Well, let's not go that far, but he left and he's now going to.
No, he's leaving. He's allowed.
Yeah, he's totally within his rights.
Said.
Within his rights to do so. And obviously, I mean, if I was in the same position, I'd want to coach my kids too. He's definitely got he's got the right things, right priorities, and
I just don't get how you could leave the high school that you won states for, and
But
then
he didn't win.
Ortega won states.
No, when he wrestled. When he wrestled here,
yeah.
Oh my God. My dad told me that his yearbook quote for senior year was chasing 100. And do you know how many wins he got?
How many?
99.
Oh,
Yeah.
that sucks. But no, he's definitely going to be that's going to be a big impact. And we're not sure. I don't know who the coach is going to be because I know McHugh left. He's no longer here at GL, so he can't coach.
Do they have Jared?
I don't know, but
No.
I've heard rumors that they might bring in Mr. Faxon, Nate
Wow.
Faxon's dad, to coach, which would be huge. But they still have a pretty good squad, and there's a lot of freshmen that are joining the team this year too. So it's going to be a pretty different look than last year. So boys basketball, girls basketball. Then we had wrestling.
Track.
Yep, winter track's going to start up, which I think you're participating in this year.
He's participating.
But so yeah, they were decent last year. I thought I don't think they did too bad. And then what sucks is they have to practice outside. They still practice outside.
In the cold?
Yeah,
Yeah, that doesn't matter.
that's.
I feel like when you're running, when you're running in the cold, it's much better than the heat. So I personally take it
I'll give you
much
that.
over spring track.
Yeah, that's true. Well, and you play lacrosse in the spring anyway, so
Yeah,
you wouldn't be able
so-
to do it anyway. And then cheer
want to.
still practices, and I think they compete right now, if I'm not mistaken. But I think going into the basketball season, we lost a lot of guys. In terms of guys varsity, we lost a lot of guys that played on the JV squad last year. There are
Guys
no
in the junior
juniors.
class?
Yeah, no
No
juniors
juniors
this
stepping
year
up.
or have tried out at all, which is it's crazy to think that we're gonna have a team of seniors and sophomores and probably a few freshmen to go along with that. On a varsity squad, but
It's not going to be a senior basketball class next year.
No, definitely not. And no, he's right. There won't be a senior night, which is
fun. No,
crazy
there
to
won't
think
be.
about.
That's unheard of.
No,
I would never think
It
that
is
there could ever be
unheard of.
a sport
Unless-
with no seniors. on it.
Maybe I'll play just to throw a
Yeah,
senior in there.
like we have
no,
Aaron
Kamar.
Jolly. Aaron Jolly for the basketball
Kamar doesn't
team.
play
Let's
anymore.
go.
Winter track.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah, Kamar's winning.
yeah. He switched to winter
Oh.
track.
He's the one that told me to do it.
Yeah. Oh, is he really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So yeah, and looking into a girls' season, they're getting Kira Polizzi back, who tore her ACL in the first game last year, actually in the first quarter, which I felt awful. I mean, that's just the worst.
She good? Was she gonna play varsity?
Oh, she made varsity. She started.
made
Yeah,
varsity.
she was the first quarter of their first game.
She tore her ACL.
Tore her ACL, so she missed all of this year's
Big
soccer
loss.
season. And so yeah, so
She didn't get a letter then, right?
I believe she's still. I don't know. I couldn't tell you, but I know she definitely got one for soccer because she played last
Yep.
year and actually managed softball last year too in the spring. So she was able to get a letter for that. But this year, I think you can expect her. From what I'm hearing, she's had a good recovery, and she will definitely be able to have a strong bounce back, which is big for that team. But you've got that's a pretty good mix. I think there's a good amount of seniors, sophomores, juniors on that squad. And then I mean. I don't think there's any really other winter sports coming up other than those three.
hockey team also.
Oh yeah, hockey.
Hockey team.
How could you forget?
How could I forget?
Our-
Coming off back-to-back state
The GL
championship wins.
stars.
Yeah. Obviously, the loss of Brian Kramer.
That's going to be huge.
That's
I
a
feel like
that's a big one.
Definitely
He
a
was
big step
he
up.
was a solid player last year. For the last all of his years at GL, he was a solid player. But someone who is back on the squad this year, Brady Silverman.
He came back?
He's back at
Wow.
GL. He's going to play. So that's a big step.
You think is that going to be another state championship?
He's definitely has the potential to lead us there. I think he's a strong enough player too. I think he's definitely got what it takes to get us there. I mean, a third state championship in a row, just playing in one, never mind, I can't even imagine winning it, would be insane.
That would be real big for GL.
That would be, I think, what's our last, before the two hockey, I think our last one was baseball in 2016.
I have no idea.
As I think the last one we won. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, so I mean, we're looking at a really strong season. Tryouts just started for basketball and hockey. Wrestling, I don't know if that's a tryout, but both basketball, girls and boys, wrestling and hockey all started tryouts yesterday, which I think is like, does the state mandate that? Like that? Do they tell you when you can start? I think there is something about that, right?
Yeah.
About when you can and can't practice, because I know.
You can't do off-season work.
Yeah, you can't
Well,
be
you
with
can do off-season work. It just can't be with your coaches.
with the coaches.
New
Exactly.
Jersey's like the only state that does that.
Which is
It's
weird.
so
It doesn't make any
Yeah.
sense. But I
Just
know,
not.
for example, for the softball players, only because my sister's a softball player this winter, the baseball coaches and Chris Roof are going to be putting together a clinic, and they're going to be coaching and
For
putting
softball?
through exactly for softball. Which, when you think about it, is smart. They're not with their coaches; they're getting reps with the girls they're going to be playing with. And so yeah, I think that so shout out to Chris Roof for putting that together. I think that's going to be
Shout out.
that'll be a good thing for the team this year. And
Yeah.
speaking of softball, they're lacking
they-
pitchers from last year.
They were, but they went pretty far last year.
Yeah, they did,
Softball,
but now
they
they
did-
have
they had a
there
good
are
season
no
last year.
there are no pitchers, no pitchers on that team right now.
Not
So
even a
they're-
freshman?
no seniors.
Oh.
Yeah. So
Well, I'm
like,
sure they could find.
oh,
Yeah.
they're gonna have pitchers that maybe didn't pitch on that squad last year that come up, but that's for the next season. So I think that's probably I think that's all the time we have for today. We're probably about done. We've covered literally everything there is to cover right now. Like I said,
Literally.
we're in a little bit of a gray area. But coming up, Matt and I are going to be calling a bunch of the basketball games for both boys and girls for varsity. So stay tuned for that. We'll have a podcast next week when we return from Thanksgiving break. So have a good Thanksgiving, everyone. Have a good Thanksgiving,
Have a good
boys.
You too.
Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
And yeah, stay safe and be well.
Stay safe.